The Women Reservation Bill has been cleared by the Lok Sabha. Today, you're going to see discussions in the Rajya Sabha, and by the end of it, there will be a voting in Rajya Sabha as well. And from there, it will go for the President's signature and then will become a law, provided it gets passed where the Rajya Sabha is concerned. Well, yesterday, lots of debate on the floor of the House. The bill was cleared, 454 for 2. The two MPs who said no and dissented were from the AIMIM, Asauddin Owaisi and Imtiaz Jaleel. But we're going to continue to get you the very latest in terms of the debates, who are speaking. We are expecting JP Nadda to speak where the Bharatiya Janata Party is concerned. We are expecting Nirmala Sitharaman to also speak. The opposition has also given out their names. Will there be a surprise element in terms of speeches? We'll keep our viewers updated. But it's a big day today, viewers, of where we stand in terms of just history. It's a moment in history. It's India's headlight moment. Years of struggle, years of trials, tribulations by women activists, by women politicians, now coming to fruition. But how far will this fruition go? Because there are questions that are being raised and should be raised on when will be the deliverables of this historic moment. Because from here on, where the clause of the bill is concerned, it says that it can only be implemented after delimitation. Now, the delimitation cannot take place before the census in 2026. And after that would be the delimitation. Something to chew on, it took just 2 years, for delimitation to near about come to a close where Jammu and Kashmir was concerned. Imagine how long will it take for the rest of the country. But having said that, once again, standing on the cusp of history. But let's cut into the latest news break that we're also getting in. It's day 4 of the special joint session of Parliament, and word just coming in that the Prime Minister, as I speak, is in conversation, holding a meeting with senior ministers, chalking out Parliament strategy. Home Minister Amit Shah, Nitin Gadkari, Parliamentary Affairs Minister Prahlad Joshi, Piyush Goyal, all in there. Also, what we're given to understand, BJP women MPs will greet the Prime Minister today in his chamber after the passage of the Women's Bill in the Rajya Sabha, which is imminent. But having said that, let me quickly bring in my colleague Poulomi Saha back into this conversation. Poulomi, the Prime Minister meeting with senior ministers regarding Parliament strategy. This is usually a routine meeting that happens at about 10:30 a.m. He does take that meeting daily. But there is an element of suspense as well, because at least with what was being speculated, that it's not just the women reservation bill that we are looking at. There could be something else, politically explosive at that.
That's right. There's been a lot of buzz in Parliament, Preeti, about some sort of a surprise element that still remains to be disclosed by the government. We don't have much clarity on that because some are speaking about it, some are dismissing that, saying the Women's Reservation Bill and the introduction of that bill was all that there was, in fact, that the government had up its sleeve. But yes, there is a lot of conversation about that. As you rightly mentioned, the Prime Minister is right now in a meeting with senior ministers of the Union government, which includes Amit Shah, Piyush Goyal, Prahlad Joshi and Nitin Gadkari. Like you said, a routine strategy meeting that the Prime Minister has most mornings when Parliament is in session, so that everyone is on the same page, and that can be communicated to the MPs as well in terms of what is going to be the BJP's floor strategy, especially when they are hoping to, in fact, with this bill, they're hoping to get everyone on board and have as much support as is possible, because it's not just about the passage of the bill. If this government, in fact, goes ahead and gets maximum support, much beyond 2/3 that they need in the House, then clearly that's a big win for the government, and they can say that despite the kind of voices that you saw in the UPA from own ally partners of the Congress party at that point of time, who derailed the introduction of the bill in the Lok Sabha after its passage in the Rajya Sabha. Here you have those very parties not in government, in opposition, and yet the BJP managed to enlist their support and ensure that everyone, barring a couple, in fact, came on board. And that is what the BJP will be hoping today as that discussion, in fact, commences in the upper house of Parliament, Preeti.
Well, Poulomi, let's just touch upon, because we're going to talk a bit about what we're expecting in the Rajya Sabha, who opens for the Bharatiya Janata Party. I believe it's going to be JP Nadda, Nirmala Sitharaman expected to speak, and then the bill will come to a vote in Rajya Sabha as well. We're going to, talk a bit about that, Poulomi, as well the fact that, what is being preempted, that it will see easy passage in the Rajya Sabha like it saw in the Lok Sabha, and then BJP women MPs will go to the Prime Minister's chamber to congratulate him, and also I would reckon thank him for spearheading and tabling this bill in both houses at the time that he has. But, for a minute, let's reflect, Poulomi, on what happened late last night, last night, where the bill was cleared in Lok Sabha by a majority of 454 votes, but there were two dissenting MPs in the form of Asauddin Owaisi from the AIMIM and Imtiaz Jaleel. Having said that, Poulomi, what is the reason? Because when Asauddin Owaisi came out, he said it's because of the Muslim women and the OBC women that were not included. But the sheer figure of how many voted is historic. Over decades, one would have, not even dreamt that these kind of figures in support of the bill will register in the Lok Sabha with at least of what parliamentary history stands for.
Absolutely. Like I said, it's not just about the passage of the bill. The BJP hopes that the numbers in itself will tell a completely different story as to what this bill has faced in the past, the kind of dissent it has faced, passage in the Rajya Sabha, but not possible to have introduced the bill in the Lok Sabha because already partners were pulling out in terms of their support, couldn't get, in fact, introduced in many previous instances before that. So clearly the BJP hopes that it is going to rewrite history and ensure that it goes down in the annals of history for not just having passed the women's reservation bill, but to have done so with overwhelming support and majority from all political parties. And that's exactly what the BJP is hoping. And the numbers from last evening tell you that story already. At least half that story has been written as the BJP would want it to be written. 456 present and voting, 454 voted in support of the bill. Many, of course, stood up and raised objections to, of course, not the inclusion of an OBC quota for women from the OBC background. Asad Owaisi, of course, raised the point about Muslim women also being given reservation. Many raised the question about why not now that this bill is being implemented? Why is this pipe dream being sold to everyone that this will only happen after the census, and following the census, the delimitation exercise, and following that, 1/3 reservation for women in Parliament and Vidhan Sabhas. But despite all of that, everyone lent their support, barring the two from the AIMIM. And that is what BJP is hoping, that the Rajya Sabha numbers will be as historic as that. Again, we've spoken to, parties from across party lines. In fact, the India bloc already, as you know, is supporting the bill. So there's going to be no trouble from the opposition, as is usually the case. You saw the kind of resistance that the opposition put up during the Delhi Services Bill discussion in the last session of Parliament, where they came together in order to stand up against the government. Here, the opposition has already lent its support. So the entire bloc of 26, 28 parties is with the government on this bill, and also those who have in the past resisted the passage of this bill, like SPRJD JDU.
Right. Well, you're right there, Poulomi. Once again, what has happened over the course of the last 24 hours is historic. It will be embedded as an indelible mark, and a very positive one at that, in the annals of Indian parliamentary history and for the country as well. However, questions still continue to be asked about when will it be implemented, and is there even a possibility of it being implemented?